Alright, good afternoon YouTube. Bubbaletto here again, doing another review, this time of the EasyBotOven Delta or Kossel Autolevel mount or kit. The plastic sets, if you just ordered a plastic set, would come with these two pieces, the mount and the micro switch arm. But the whole array of parts, as you see in front of you here, is what is included in their full kit. I think the way this came about, or this kit came about, was, and I'm not going to pick on Folgertech, but this is their the mount that came with theirs, fan mount, servo mount. The way that their kit worked, you used a single screw to hold the servo on, not too secure. There actually wasn't even a hole for it, so that actually would end up separating some of the layers, and it just wasn't as effective as this new mount. So let me show you how to build it. I'm going to give you an idea as to how it mounts onto your hot end as well. Just so you're aware, this is for the, I guess, E3D, or these round style hot ends that just have this big groove on the top that holds it on, and I'll show you in a minute how that goes. So I'm going to start building this this kit, so you guys have a good idea as to how to assemble it yourself. So let's just dive in. I think the first thing I'm going to do is build the servo arm. So I'm going to first get my servo horn, pop it in the servo arm. There we are. Some pliers, just make sure it's in all the way. It should go in that easy, but you might have to clean it up with a drill bit. You can actually do it by hand. You don't even need a drill or drill press. That one went pretty well. Great. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to mount our micro switch. Leave the ones that are coming in the kits. This little red roller on the bottom. If you choose you don't like that for purposes of accuracy, you're more than welcome to cut that off and just use the micro switch. Which again, if you can see, is just a little red switch underneath. This is just an actuator arm to make it a little bit easier for the switch to engage. Depends just on how accurate you want it. So before I get too far ahead of myself, there are two sets of M3 bolts. They're 14mm lengths and 10mm lengths. To attach your micro switch, you want the 10mm lengths, and you want to start them by hand. At least until the screw engages in the plastic. Now, I'm not doing this on the demonstrations. There's a servo arm. You do get some ribbon cable that comes, there's 7 strands. So you'd split 2, pull those all the way down. For the micro switch, again, I like to use the outermost 2 contacts or terminals, which makes the switch set up for normally open, so that when it clicks or hits the build plate, that's when it closes the circuit and tells the software you've hit your level point there. If you want to, I believe, let's see here, I believe it's the middle and one of the outer more terminals, that would be normally closed, so that when the switch hits. It opens the circuit, just another way of doing it. Depends on how your software is written or how you code it, but the switch can do either. So 7 strands in the ribbon cable. You'll split it off to two strands, another 2 strands, and a 3 strand. And the reason for that is 2 strands are going to go to your micro switch, 2 strands are going to go to extend the lead for your fan, and then 3 strands of that ribbon cable will go to extend the wires for your servo. So you'll cut this, solder, E-tape, however you choose to extend your wires, their servo, so that they all can get back to your ramp sport. Alright, so I've got off on a tangent. Set that aside. Now we're going to build the fan mount and hot end clamp, all the above. Sometimes fans are labeled the direction of flow, sometimes they're not. I'm pretty sure, because I've bought these fans before, that the sticker side is the direction that the air is blowing. Sticker side is going to blow this way. Our hot end is mounted in the middle here, so we want the fan blowing towards it. And just to be good about cable management, we want the cable coming out the top. Now is when we use our 14mm M3 bolts, and then these 2 nuts as well. What you'll find is there's a half circle. Should I show you? It's a half circle here. That's where your fan's going. On the inside, there's some hexagonal holes that are going to hold these nuts. I think I might just press those in right now, make my life a little easier. There we go. Now I will say this design is a little delicate. You don't want a lot of mass on a Delta or a Kossel style printer because it has to move around all the time. So when pressing things in and when we're going to screw in the servo, I'm not going to go too crazy reefing it down because we don't want the layers to separate. But at the same time we do want it secure. Alright, so mounting the fan, sticker side in, cable coming out the top. These fans are kind of nice. They have a recess for the head of the screw to go into. Certainly makes it look clean. Just going to cinch those down enough. You can see on the inside, screws, or excuse me, our hex bolts, hex nuts, there we go, are sitting in the recesses. The 14mm bolts are coming through just slightly. Not going to interfere with anything. Cables coming out the top, not being pinched or cut off or anything like that. We're in good shape there. Another benefit, I guess, if you will, if you chose to put a fan guard, okay, that's not included in the kit, but you have 2 more fan holes on the bottom that you could do that with. All right. Now, actually, I'm going to pause this really quick just to make sure I reference the right orientation of the way the servo goes in. So bear with me. All right, welcome back. I just wanted to make sure that I got the servo orientation right. It'd be pretty clear pretty quickly if it were mounted wrong on your printer, but I don't have my printer right in front of me, so I had to go look at it. Alright, so we're going to take the 2 mounting screws, which requires a screwdriver. So the way that we're going to do this, our servo, again, where our servo horn mounts or servo arm mounts, where a cable comes out. It's going to point away from the fan, and the servo arm mounts on the inside. We're going to screw it in from the back side with the 2 screws provided that do come to a point, as opposed to the one that will hold on the servo arm. And by the looks of things, I'm going to also need to change my screwdriver. This little jeweler screwdriver just doesn't have the torque I want. Good news is, I've got my screwdriver set right here. Screw this in. Pushing a little too hard on my screwdriver. Extend it a little bit. Oh, that's cool. I have a bigger screw tip I can use. Sorry, guys. All right, set that aside. Now we're going to take our servo arm, we're going to mount it on the inside, like so. Get it to engage. And then the little set screw that attaches that to the servo. Oops. It's easier just to put it in first. Now again, with regard to the servo position, I have no way of knowing exactly what degree the servo is oriented at this particular moment in time. So there is a possibility that I might have to take this off, just a screw, reposition the servo so that it can go down and go up and out of the way. This one does not point all the way up. Stops about there. That's what it's intended to do. If it pointed all the way up, it would get in the way of your carbon fiber rods or whatever the control arms that you use in your Delta or your Kossel. So just supposed to kind of point out of the way, not get in the way, and then be able to swing all the way down for when it's doing the auto level function. Again, it's for the E3D style hot ends, or some that look like this, that have this big groove in the mix around the top. That will get slotted into the groove tightly, and then it will mount using the 5 mounting holes that you would find in your kit already. Again, referencing back to the Folgertech part, they too had their 5 holes in the top. Those are similarly repeated here. Anyway, so that's what it will look like when it's assembled and attached to a hot end, keeping in mind that these cables will be longer and there will be some cables on the hot end that you've soldered. Again, side note, when you have soldered on your micro switch, the zip tie is to go in these grooves. Keep your wires out of the way of the hot end. So, hello. So that will go right like that, and again, keep the wires out of the way. I think that's it. Again, the next step after you've built this and attach it to your printer is to go into your firmware, actually probably with something like repeater host first, figure out what the angle, the degree angle is for the down position, what degree angle is for the up position that would be appropriate for you, and then program that into your firmware. So there you have it, guys, the Kossel or Delta style auto level mount by EasyBotOven.